We'll probably start because we definitely have quorum. We have Chris from CHA here if we have questions on the plans, but first we'll do updates and then we can dive into the plans. So, Kate, do you want to start with an update on
Sure.
stuff? Because Athena's not here too, so.
Yeah, no, Athena's still in Greece. Before like I said, the duck race is on Sunday. So if you're interested, there's supposed to be a parking lot full of fun things to do at CCE. So if you're out and about. I am working on DRYC orientation packet. I've got it almost completed. I would like to put additional information in there about how the monies flow through, just so people understand sort of the budget process a little bit, especially from the county, because it can be a little confusing. But we're gonna have that on the next month's agenda, so I'll bring it so you guys can look at it. Rec partnership, we met last night. This meeting was where the board voted or set parameters for the rec partnership budget that the Youth Bureau creates, that they then vote on in the June meeting. So they've asked for a maintenance of effort budget plus 2% and 5%. So in the last 3 or 4 years, they've done either a 6 or an 8% increase. That scares people when you talk about 8 and 6% increase, but the amount of money that actually is representative of is pretty small in the larger picture of things. That the smaller municipalities, which Dryden is one of, your participation, what you pay into that each year is based on a 3-year average participation rate, and then your assessed property value for the Ithaca City School District. So it kind of varies. So you guys tend to be one of the larger users of that, you and Danby. So of that last quarter, you pay some of the bigger percentages, but you have a lot of participation in the different programs. We have asked them to focus on maybe adding some additional arts and crafts and youth development instead of recreation. Still do the recreation, but also give other kids some opportunities to do some stuff. And the addition, we know mental health issues are large and sometimes translate into behavior issues at school, and then that follows into summer camp. So we've asked them to think about how many additional staff they might need to be able to provide supervision and address some of those needs for the youth. So that will be figured in as well. So we'll come back with some more information on that. County is currently looking for a DSS commissioner, a whole health commissioner, and the director of finance. Both the whole health and DSS recruiting efforts have closed. We're going to start the phone interviews for the whole health commissioner next week. There were 15 applications. That's been narrowed down to 5. DSS commissioner will begin, I would assume, somewhere in the next 2 to 3 weeks. They'll start doing phone interviews for that. And then the finance director, we have not yet found that. So they're doing, I think, interviews for that as well. So I'm not part of that process. I'm on the whole health commission. So we are also doing Achieving Youth Results 3.0. So that is the framework through which we do all of our funding through the county for all the programs that we fund and all the work that we do in different places. And so we are working internally. We'll be taking that out to community partners to get feedback and then bringing it to the larger community to make sure that we're on track so that what we are actually funding is actually meeting the needs of the youth in the communities. So that's a very short Reader's Digest version of so, any questions? That's what I got.
Okay. I don't know where Jason went. Marty, do you have any updates?
Yeah. So I did submit the RFI for the DRYC grant. I haven't heard anything yet, but then I thought maybe I should look at my focused email as well. I haven't done that yet. Varna is having a fundraiser June 7th. Varna walks. $10 a person, $25 a family. All the information is on our website. The registration is going through the town, and then we'll write a check to Varna when you're done. What else do we have? All of our spring stuff has not started. Our 3rd through 6th grade lacrosse has started. Greg is actually our coach for that. We haven't had any games yet. The weather has been absolutely miserable. This Saturday we start the K2 lacrosse with 44 kids registered. And then next Wednesday will be the first day of track, and there's 111 kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah,
all of
That
them.
number just keeps getting bigger every year.
yeah. So I kept it at 80 every year. I like a little bit more, a little bit more. So I was like at 80, and then I let 90 in, and then 100, and then there were 11. I'm like, okay.
I mean, they're just running, so you know.
Yeah. So I have 111 kids, and I think I have 8 volunteers, and 4 of them are middle school kids. So that's where I'm at right now. Possibly.
Jackson doesn't have
Sounds like
anything
it.
on Wednesday nights right now.
So from 6 to 7, if Jackson wants to come, we'll be at the track next week. There are a couple dates we can't use the track because there's lacrosse games, I think, or track meets, there's 2 days, so we're just gonna move everything out back. And we're gonna kind of just do fun games with the kids, like different things that they don't normally do on the track, non-traditional track things, I guess you would call them. Summer camp, well, we all know it's full, and I have all my staff now. I just hired a camp director yesterday, and I'm very excited. She works for the school. She is a teacher's aide in the MAPS program.
Who's it?
Keisha Creech. She has a daughter who also goes there, participates with. Husband has health coach stuff too. So I'm just trying to finalize all the paperwork for the health department, and then we should be good to go with summer camp. And then every camp is full except soccer camp and dance camp. So there's 60 kids for soccer camp. Which soccer camp I don't have a cap on it really. Laszlo will take them all. And yeah, there's 11 spots open for the dance camp. Other than that, registration is closed for everything. We are doing the 3-point contest. I know Will said that he would help. I did not forget that.
Did you forget?
I did not forget.
I will help to find it.
And yeah,
Just so I can mock Lily and the others on the.
Yeah.
on the sheet.
I'll get my modified squad out there to work again. I did actually hire another, I can't say high schooler, she's actually in middle school. I hired Lily Turco, she's in 8th grade. She started two Saturdays ago, when we had our Easter egg hunt. She will be working track, and she's coming to K2 lacrosse. So she's just kind of filling in where the older boys cannot make it. And then I plan on Luke Eshelman will be leaving at the end of the summer. So she will fill his spot in the fall. That's all I got.
You're busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What time is the 3-point contest, Kingston?
11.
So 3-point contest at Dairy Days?
Yeah, so we did it last year. I had opened registration up for it just to kind of get a feel of who would be there, how many people. I really didn't have anybody register, but there were, I forgot how many people we had last year, like
A lot.
60, 70.
Everybody was just like,
Yeah, why not, right?
Once-
Yeah.
Yeah, once they see it, but I think we had it set up pretty well, just as long as I can get a couple more people. I was just grabbing kids left and right to be like,
Yeah.
hey, can you help me here? Can you help? And they would stay until their parents were like, you have to leave.
How many of the basketball racks do you have?
So I have 4. It worked out pretty well. Yeah. So just keep the kids
That's fun.
running. Yeah. And I bet Abby probably wants to help too.
I'll make her help.
Yeah, there we go.
I got no takers in carrying a table with us, but whatever, we can get our own table. It's cool. Just saying.
We have a table inside the basketball court.
But
We can have a table inside the basketball court.
there we go. And people really work for it to get information
That's where they're actually.
and volunteer. you
Yeah.
know?
College. What's happening in there? No sweat.
Jason, do you have any updates for the town?
No, I don't. I wasn't at the meeting last week. I was away, but I don't really have anything. The only thing we might want to look out to do, because the village got that New York Forward grant. The way that works actually is like community groups and things apply for money from that grant. So I just wonder how much of that could be used for, you know, town recreation purposes. I know and the week before, Murphy had said at our April 10th meeting that at least with the church at the corner, there was some talk of bringing like a daycare there, but I know that it's also a good space, like a good potential community center type space. So we probably want to talk with the village about that possibility too, because, you know, daycare, I can't see using the entire building. So,
Oh,
so I think we just wanted to at least make sure that we engage with the village about that, because some of that money, like I think, could help, you know, like I said, the recreation department.
And would it be helpful to set the meeting to talk to Mike or anyone at the village to,
I think start with Mike, because I don't, they have to, I have to actually figure out
yeah, like what's the
how
process?
that process works, because he was kind of gave a global overview, not really a pointed one. There's going to be a couple of public meetings, I think, that explain how to apply for the money, but
Okay.
but it would be nice to know ahead of time, I think, for us.
Okay, should I reach out to Mike or will you talk to him?
I think it'd probably be good if we both do. So
Okay.
he knows that we're interested in doing it. And so, you know, because they always come to us for things. So I think we have to really kind of push them on this one.
Okay. Okay, so then our other thing today then is to go over the plans. Chris is here. I'm wondering. Okay, fine. First we'll approve the March minutes. That's true. That's true. I got Doug's cold and I just got over it. My mind is very fuzzy. So does anyone want to move to approve the minutes from March?
I move we approve the minutes from March.
And a second,
Second.
there we go. Do we approve? Or any edits? I did read them. I did get that far.
It seemed great.
I wasn't here, so I don't know how accurate they are.
But it didn't indicate that you weren't here.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go. There we go. Now we go over.
There.
I don't know if it'll be. Maybe it'll be easy if I'm able to. Can Chris shares? Chris, are you able to share a screen or do I have to give you permission to do that?
Let me see. I requested.
Yes, hit allow.
All right.
If that works.
Can you see?
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Are we sharing now?
Did it, yeah.
Perfect.
Always something that feels like it should be simple, but for some reason, you never
It's
do it.
technology. It's never simple.
Oh, I just feel like it always changes for some reason too. It's just what you do.
No mute button, get everybody.
So yeah, what we put together and really kind of took to heart was everything that we had listened to and trying to incorporate as many of the activities and different user groups into the property, which, as everyone knows, is very challenging based on the grade change. And then also with kind of working in with not a huge budget and being able to piece it together in ways that you as a community could take it and look at incorporating it, whether it's different phases or different parts of the project. But what we did was come up with 3 separate concepts. And while the first concept, and it's the one that I think truly most incorporates everything we wanted, what we wanted to show here too was just the true impacts of what the 100-foot buffer does to this project and how much of the acreage it really eats up, and made us have to look at it in a different way. And where we were able at one point to have two full-size fields, now with how the site is and how it all lays out, we had to make some concessions. So while concept one is complete, it's unfortunately unbuildable based on the buffer. But what we did want to show is kind of what the full programming concept would look like. Once we moved into backing away from the buffers in our concepts 2 and 3, we looked at again trying to make, you know, and hearing what we heard is that we really need space as much as possible for fields of play. So in concept 2, we have a smaller U12 and then U10 associated fields with a central playground, and then a larger parking area. But then when we get into concept 3, we are able to rotate and actually have a full size field that then allows us to play softball, and also has the appropriate north-south orientation for how we would want that with sun setting and things, as we're looking at that. And then a smaller U8 field, but again gets more practice space and allows the different sizes and groups to be broken up, and how that is in all the concepts. The only way to really access the property was to come through, you know, and utilize this gravel access road between the highway department and the town hall. And again, just knowing how densely the trees are in this specific area, we tried to stay out as much as possible, because that's just going to add more cost to the clearing of the whole property itself. So before I go into, and we can start talking about the different breakouts of the cost, does anyone have any questions on the concepts, or do you want to look at each one individually and kind of walk through what we have?
I know that we can't get into the 100-foot buffer, but I know that there's already some driveway in that space.
In
How-
the town hall.
The town.
Like the loop here, it's already in the 100-foot buffer.
So it's half of the town hall.
Yeah.
So
We're technically.
how did we get that permission,
Right
but
now.
we can't get any permission to, like, even if we could just have the road be off that top part still? I like that part from number 1 that we don't get in 2 and 3.
So, Chris, I'm wondering though about the section you mentioned with the, you know, the wooded area. I know obviously there's cost involved in clearing that, but it's giving up a lot of usable space. You know, when you say, you know, increasing costs, I don't know, it seems like a space we really ought to be using.
So the other thing is, again, I know we were unfortunately didn't have a large budget to work with, so we needed to look and try to design in what we could, at least what if we designed could be constructed. This treat area is also the steepest grade. If you look at each of these contours, each of these represent a 1 foot contour kind of coming down. So in this whole section, we have roughly 40 feet of fall from the top side of this treat area down to the bottom. So not only is it a bunch of demo and taking out the trees, but then we also have to regrade and bring that, and with it being the most congested, where the topographic lines were the tightest, it also then adds that because we then have to bring that much up. And as we, you know, and that's how we came up with a lot of our numbers with our cut and fill analysis, is all that went through to there. But agreed, there's a lot of, if this was a flat property, we could look at this extremely different. Unfortunately, just the geographic slope and everything with it in there, it's very terrainy, and it's certainly impacting a lot of what we are able to do within a good kind of monetary value there.
You brought up the cut and fill, and
Mm-hmm.
really stood out to me was on concept 2, the earthwork excess cut on playing field 2, the smaller of the 2 fields.
Yep.
That number is higher than any other field, even the gigantic field that seems to take up 75 to 80% of the same space.
You are correct, and that again is the cut and fill analysis and how much it needs to come up because of the grade and to create that level field, and then have it again appropriately pitched with stormwater and things like that through here, so that it's not flooding everything onto this field. It is a substantial fill through here after the cut, and how that is like in. When
Is
we
that much
initially
bigger
looked
than
at,
just doing the big one? Because the big
Uh,
like them overlaid, and the big one is practically the same space.
You wouldn't have,
yep,
you would have to have the same drainage set up.
correct. The drainage is once you start getting into the stormwater and how that all drains out, it drastically changes it. But yes,
Yeah.
trust me, it was the first thing that I noticed when the reports were ran to. I go, how is this one more expensive when we're looking at it? And I triple checked before I sent it on, because it is accurate no matter how inaccurate it appears.
Is that excess cut that needs to get rid of, or it needs to be brought in?
If it's cut, it needs to be hauled off. If it's fill, it needs to be brought in.
So what is that?
That's excess cut, so it's
So
just,
that's a huge amount of soil that needs to be hauled off-site.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
We-
like, I'll
It
get
gets,
a
it
trailer.
gets expensive, yeah.
There are
Yeah.
places that
Yeah.
the town puts
Yeah, well, you just put it in Rick's barns.
my yard.
You won't.
Can I ask, you can't see me on camera, but I'm down here.
Yeah.
Hi, are we, the sort of wavy lines around each of the field outlines? You were saying those are for like drainage, or they'd be pitched down, so to speak? I guess I'm wondering about like people's spectators, where will
Yep.
spectators sit? Like, is
So-
that a steep pitch or?
Yep. So these are in this instance, this is a hill down. We designed these on a 1 to 4 grade, which allows someone to come and sit on this hill. And that's what we looked at to kind of create that too, knowing that this is a tight area, there's not a lot of parking. So we created kind of natural berm for everyone to be able to be able to sit here, because there isn't a ton of flat areas, and it does impact what we can do with chairs and things like that.
Okay, and
But
then I
yeah,
have,
the white is the current topography, and the black
Yeah.
would be the existing once the project was complete.
okay,
Okay.
like,
So if you look at the plan number 1,
Mm-hmm.
where number 10 is, Julie, there's already a stormwater thing out there. Like, I don't know what you would call it. Like,
Retention pond.
yeah, there's already something out there, so you need to stay away from that area as well.
Yeah, you can see it a little better in, you can kind of see it in 3 here because we aren't over here, but this is a depression where everything else is running here and then back down here is kind of the way that it slopes here and then harsh down this way is kind of the way the water itself works with all those natural contours.
Okay. Can I ask 2 more questions?
Oh, of course.
I'm gonna keep going.
Well,
Okay, the next question is, are we able to expand at all that existing long path that is gravel, you said, or it's, I guess it looks paved from where I pull in, but that, right, that one, to make it actually drivable?
It is drivable right now.
It is,
Like-
it's rough, but it's drivable, yeah.
It
No, it's
is
paved.
dri-
Yeah.
It's paved, right, it looks like it was, but it says you can't drive on it for whatever reason, but I'm just thinking of like. If we did lean towards having the full-size field, which then kind of compresses the parking lot next to the field. That would make it certainly a lot easier to have spillover parking be in the town hall lot. And kind of be able to drive back and forth on the interior. Right?
Yeah, no, it's certainly an option. Again, we were just trying to minimize cost
Yeah.
impacts to the project in areas where if it's usable now, even though it might not be in the ideal condition, we can get the project going kind of through a phase 1, and those are items that could be addressed, whether it's in a phase 2 or just later down the line in a different capital or different type of improvement project. But yeah, absolutely, that's something that could be incorporated into this without an issue.
Oh, okay, great. And then I wasn't sure what number, so it's number 10 on the one that you have up. There, is that like an addition to the building itself?
It would be, again, it was, I know we had talked about trying to get 800 square feet of usable space, whether
Oh,
that was
yeah.
classroom.
Got it, yeah.
Again,
Okay.
trying to look at it from a cost perspective, this is the nicest, flattest area of the whole property. And is just gonna be easier to attach kind of onto the back than build new, where depending on what the amenities are, we'd have to route water service, sewer, gas, light, electrical, where we know it's here and it's a simple connection. Again, that
Yeah.
was a concession that was made for cost savings purposes, more so than a full-on kind of architectural detail and new building that would be placed on the concept. But again, if we looked at it from a phase perspective, something that could be added after the fact, you know, as we have this, it could, you know, something like in this area, but wanted to kind of look at the financials of what we have for the field and to bring that recreation space first, and then that building space would follow just based on where we were.
Right, so that's why it's not really reflected in the estimates.
Correct. Yep.
Just, that's the idea of where
Yep.
that would go. Okay.
We did talk about that and I told him just to leave that part out because we didn't. think
Yeah.
it would
Yeah.
Really be.
Yeah.
We'll just look elsewhere.
Yeah, just knowing with the current budget and what was there and seeing where the estimates were coming in with a much more minimalistic approach without that concept, it was just leave it aside for the time being, but represent it on a rendering, so at least it wasn't forgotten whatsoever.
I have a question, Chris.
Mhm.
So on concept 1, let's just start there.
Sure.
For the access road, instead of going from town hall or highway from each end, would it be very cost effective to run it through the piece of property at the bottom that the town owns straight up through? So the town owns that vacant lot on East Main Street. Yep.
The one,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So if you came off 392 from there and straight up.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely an approach we could look at, Marty. Again, I think it just
I just didn't know
It-
cost wise if that was,
Yeah, you know, and again, it's how we were incorporating this initially was more of a 3-phased project for phase one.
gotcha.
You know, until the buffer kind of changed that approach. And that's where we were trying to give kind of the whole circulation around so that there was kind of an in and an out. This certainly, I think it's something we could definitely look at. We just may be going from asphalt, dirt back to asphalt in these areas unless we want to potentially change these to a dirt or gravel road in those applications too.
I'm pretty sure that access road, I might bet my paycheck on it that it's paved. I don't
Okay.
know next Thursday though.
It is paved, but it needs work.
Yes, it is.
There you
paved.
say,
It was.
I walked,
Yeah.
I was walking on it on Sunday.
Yeah, but it's not gravel, dirt.
Right.
It's- Yeah,
Yeah, it's actual.
it's nicer than my driveway.
That's not saying much.
Right. It's nicer than my school according.
That's true.
I think it's smooth.
I think that was the only thing I had was that road area.
You see through to it? No,
Yeah.
not great. But this would be the area where you would be talking about coming through. This is that vacant property, correct, Marty?
Yeah,
I mean, and looking at that, it's not like there's many
Yeah,
trees, we have a couple utilities we need to work through, but yeah, that's a wide open area to connect, so it wouldn't be a difficult transition whatsoever. What is this a is this a county road? Town road? Do
It's
you
a-
know?
It's a state road, isn't it?
I think, well, right there at that vacant lot, we can make it a town road.
Which would help, because if it's state, then we gotta start dealing with state DOT for a cut and an access point through too. So that's just one thing, if we're looking to do that, just to think about, that there may be some impacts depending on who owns that road, and then there's a different governmental agency that now has an impact in that.
That's fine,
Okay.
just one more hoop.
New York State. Right?
Yeah, it's a state road.
It is a state road, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not scared.
Neither am
According to AI, it's a state route.
Oh, it's never wrong.
Mhm.
All right, according to Wikipedia.
Oh my God.
And Zillow, not looking good.
I've seen enough, I'm ready to call it.
Yes.
MapQuest, that's still a thing?
I'm still thinking of that. All right, GeoCities though says, oh wait, you guys are too young for GeoCities.
I remember GeoCities.
Can I ask a question about toilets?
Yep.
It's very important to me because
There will
I
be-
go to a lot of these games and I have elderly parents and it's a massive issue that we never have easy access to bathrooms, so we have the toilet building on here, but it's really $100,000 for a building with a composting toilet with no electricity and no running water?
Yep.
That right? How is that possible?
Yep.
I don't get that.
You're not alone.
Yeah. Where is that coming from and why? Is it the like digging the hole?
I believe, I mean.
No, it's just the cost of business now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. That's rough.
We'll charge at the door.
We
How much
Charge.
does that come with it?
Yeah, cause we've done those, and I've got a picture of one I can pull up.
yeah, I can't really picture what this looks like versus like a porta potty.
Yeah, here, no, it's a building here. Let me pull up a picture of one from a park that we just did.
How many toilets you get in $100,000
That's what I'm
toilet?
saying, and.
Two.
Two?
I have two.
If a porta potty's
Yeah.
$10,000, what's the difference? You're stepping in a building to have the same gross experience to pay $100,000.
Composting toilet is not as gross as a porta potty.
Okay.
Yeah, porta potties are.
It's a little bit of an
Yeah.
improvement.
I'm pretty sure the self-composting toilet at my buddy's cabin cost him like $20 to make.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of those at Dryden
Like,
Lake,
totally
but
fuck-
the
no,
thing
you
is, it would have
Dig
to
a
be
big hole in the
locked
ground,
up.
and then a little booth on it.
Lime and.
It looks nice, it looks promising, like,
Oh, yeah,
it looks like a real bathroom.
So it
Yeah.
does have water?
It is.
that one does.
That one does.
This
Ours
one
won't.
would not have running water.
Yeah, we have tons
No.
of water. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only thing is there wouldn't be running water out to there, so there wouldn't be the drinking fountain, but that is one that we just installed at a park and was right about $100,000.
Yeah.
That has running water.
That one does.
Only to the drinking fountains. That's a composting one as well.
Okay.
And
And
the
I
one-
am
I mean, for some of the, I don't know how much work has been.
Somebody's job is to go take care of the composting toilets.
You don't.
Oh, wow. Think a porta potty is worse, but it's better than.
yeah. So you've
Chris, can I
got
ask you
two.
a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for the cost estimate part, how much of that was based on using contractors versus the highway department? 'Cause the thing
Oh,
is,
it's all
like,
contractor. None of this is highway department.
because if there is any like if there is anything highway could do, even if it were to say like running like water lines and electric lines and all that, because they did do some of that work for the. I mean, it was close to the highway building, but and I think they ran a gas line to it also. You wouldn't have to factor in like prevailing wage into the cost for certain things though. So I think before like when we settle on a design, it's probably worth meeting then with Rick to figure out if there's any way that they could do anything.
Yeah, so for
That
this,
could save some money.
my contract, we're putting together the master plan kind of overall concept, and then again just a general rough order of magnitude cost estimate. Who does the work and how it gets bid out after, if it goes to a final design, that's where that would all kind of be factored in and honed in, and we could, but for that's kind of just, it wouldn't be where we're doing that part for a master plan right now, Jason.
Okay.
Yeah, these were just the blueprints of what the kind of the building itself would be for what they are for the two ADA toilets, and then again what the exterior looks like. And this one doesn't have the drinking fountain that one that we installed at the park did. So, but that is what that restroom building, our concept was for that.
Chris, where's the concrete work in this project?
It's gonna be for the base of, so if we're going that way, it would be for the base of the building itself.
Okay.
And then a little bit the concrete pathways that get you to each of the fields. Because then the sub base of the playground would be a soft, not necessarily rubberized, but it wouldn't be a concrete subsurface for the playground. That would be a safer, much softer area there.
Basically a pad and sidewalk. So you're doing $12 a square foot?
Yep.
For concrete? Okay.
And I will say too, when we're putting our estimates together, we're never trying to be the low bidder. Because if we're the low bidder and someone comes in higher, then everything's out. We certainly aren't going to be the high, but we want to be right in the middle and be kind of within reason with what we're seeing on existing projects that are going on right now. So, too, kind of realistically what you could potentially afford in the current market in these conditions. And I know while we do projects kind of up and down the East Coast, the stuff that I'm looking at for this specifically are more central New York, from like Syracuse to Albany. So we're kind of getting that same network of contractors that we'd be looking at for this project, and not basing it off of just national averages too.
So when you look at this, just for everybody's, under the sports equipment, I mean, we can take 22,000 off right now. Because they do have stuff in there for equipment, like for soccer goals.
Yep.
For sets of soccer goals, which would be something that we wouldn't need, because we have our own, that we use for the youth stuff. So just little things like that. I mean, I do appreciate them being in there so that people can see how expensive equipment is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that too, Marty, is kind of going through the whole wish list of everybody, and then how do we know we can't do everything, but how do we get the biggest bang for the buck and incorporate everything into it? But no, and that's certainly something like for sports equipment too. If there's other items that you need to see, we do that so frequently and have so many different vendors that we work with. We can get you numbers on stuff like that and where they currently are too.
Okay. I do have another question now. Okay, so the fencing, the chain link fence is just for like half of these fields, right? Is that right?
Yeah, so where's chain link fencing? You've got the backstop itself. So that one we showed as a standalone, because if you eliminated the softball baseball concept, you could just cut the backstop and that size out. So that's why I wanted to put that one there as its own standalone item. So the backstop itself was 35,000, and then from there we've got 600 linear feet of. And if we're talking about the estimate here, what you can see, these darker circular posts that surround the fields, these are the fencing. And what that is basically where if I'm playing soccer and I miss the goal, I'm not running way down the hill here to get the ball. This fencing was more to keep balls in the field of play. So I think there's certainly, again, if from a cost reduction standpoint, if that's how we want to look at it, we could kind of reduce the linear footage, but anywhere where you see that darker circular line around, that's the representation of the chain link fence on the fields there.
Okay.
And Chris, one thing on the backstop part of it,
Yep.
what would be the cost difference? Basically, rather than having a large chain link backstop, you've been to Gutchess, the Gutchess fields in Cortland, do you know them? So they have 4 fields, and 2 of the fields have gigantic chain link backstops.
Yep.
They're one just awful for people to look through. And 2 of them have so a partial, lower chain link, and then above that is netting. So still a backstop, but netting instead.
Yep. Netting's going to be more expensive.
Okay.
Do they take those down?
No.
They just leave them up all year.
Yeah. They're pretty.
Yeah, we do design. So we do one in our baseball stadium. We have the backstop nettings and kind of posts and things, whether they're, so typically if it's directly behind home plate, they'll be 40 feet high, protecting your grandstand. And then they taper down usually to kind of 10 feet on the ends. And then you have even the different kind of tension nettings for your batting tunnels and stuff like that, that have, okay, you know, you've got your guys that are throwing 95 and hitting, but how much deflection do they have and stuff like that. So yeah, the netting, while the netting itself isn't that expensive in the grand scheme of things, the posts of the netting structure is so much beefier. And instead of going down like 4 feet for your fencing foundations, you're going down sometimes 11, 12 feet for these 40-foot foundations. And it's just the counterweight of it, and that extra concrete really jacks that price way up on those. But yes, they are much nicer from a spectator standpoint to have that netting versus the chain link fencing in those situations. And the other thing too is chain link fencing from the stainless to the black. There's really no cost difference, but from an aesthetics and a visual standpoint, it's typically much easier to look through the black chain link fence, and that's what we would be speccing in these situations too, where more so than your standard aluminum that you're used to in a lot of these situations from the older fields. And they wear a little bit better too, because they've got that vinyl wrap on them.
I generally find the opposite, and as a sports photographer, the non-black chain link is a whole lot easier to shoot through.
Marty, do you have like, when you look at these, or is there one that stands out where you could like envision, you know, these busy Saturday mornings with like 6 simultaneous soccer games, or,
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's an important part of it.
Yes.
yes and no.
Okay.
So my only major concern about any of these is how close it is to the highway department.
Right.
Just because 2 reasons. It's not the safest place to have kids running around, or if they're around there, and we want to be friends with the highway department.
Yeah.
So we just want to keep everybody happy. It's that buffer, you know, like we said before, if we could just move things over.
Yeah.
That is like my major concern about any of them. It's just, and I get it, there's not a lot you can do there. If I were to well, I mean, there's concepts out of all of them that I like. It's just parking is an issue. Chris, how many spots, like say on the first concept, how many parking spots is that like?
In this, the concept 1, Marty?
Yeah.
Total? 2.
Oh, so those white, I was pretending those were
liberal.
like 20 spots per white line.
No, this will get you,
Yeah.
22.
Okay, so that gets me 1 soccer team out of.
Yeah, each of these will get you basically 10. And again, it was a conversation that I had with my designer, is how do we maximize parking anymore here? But as we get with our contours and the cuts and the fills and how everything needs to be at a certain grade, there really just isn't to do it any other way. You know, maybe we come over here, but again, now we're already talking about getting into buffers and things like that kind of change the conversations of it.
So in like spots 13, could we build parking garages up in the air? I'm just kidding. So, I mean, I know soccer is not a huge season, you know, it's not like all year or anything, but there are literally hundreds of people there on Saturday mornings. And that's a huge issue. There's not enough parking at town hall. And like I said, it's 6 weeks, that amount of space, even if say we had soccer practice back there, 2 or 3 soccer teams at a time, that's still not enough space. So parking is a huge issue. I do, so if like parking in a magical world, I do like I would go with like the third concept with the road coming through that empty lot into a parking lot right there in the magical forest.
Yeah.
And then eliminating the road by highway just to kind of stay out of there. That would, and I know that's a lot. I know that's a big cost, but I
Will the
think
highway
that-
department help us be like, well, we're gonna move it away from you, so. Right,
Well,
you just,
the
know.
road part is part, so-
If you promote it as a parking lot and access road, does it come from a different funding source?
I don't have a funding source, Chris.
We can look for funding.
We're gonna have yeah, that's.
I'm not sure. That's something I would have to find out.
And then it's the other thing to keep in mind, because New York State has tried to drop a lot of different like rec center grant stuff. There's also stuff for playgrounds or fields, if you take that away, and so then the budget can mostly go into doing the paving of the parking lot, and
I mean,
there's a way to probably.
Also, the second one,
Yeah.
the second one would probably work as well. I mean, they would all. They would all, you know what, the second one, I'm gonna go with. Oh, what's the playground area? The only reason I would say no to the second one, I do like the playground in the middle, but I do have parents who have kids that will be on both fields at the same time, and sometimes they kind of
Going back.
go back and forth, or sometimes they stand in the middle of the access road at the high school and they kind of,
Yeah.
this is real,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is real life.
Yeah.
So having them, I guess,
Do you have enough space for enough games to be going on the fields for 2?
for number 2,
Yeah, that's the one you were just talking about.
I'm talking about all of them, I want them
All the fields.
all the fields. So number
We'll
1,
just raise the town hall and put a field there.
oh, that works.
I meant,
So, looking at the plan, I think on concept 3, is that the one that has?
The biggest field.
If
Yeah,
you want to look at.
so is there, yeah, so there's, I think, enough, what is this to like the side that's north? Is that north towards town hall, the upper end of that field?
that's the
That's
west, east,
East.
North is up.
north is this way.
Okay, so to the east side of that, I think there's enough space to put another field there. That's, what is this, a U10 field or U12 field on the end that's painted in here?
I don't know what that is.
This is a U8 right there.
No, so.
The size of the one
I
that's
don't know how to
orange
show-
lines.
I don't know how to show him on the screen.
Where does,
So,
Let me see if
you don't
somebody
see
can
these
help
orange
me.
lines, Ivy?
If somebody can help me.
That's like a U12, right?
oh,
So the size of this field right here
yeah.
Yeah,
could fit, there could be another one built here.
next to it.
And I understand that there's a grade difference, but it could be an elevated field.
I don't think it would, I think it might be too close to the existing water hole.
Yeah,
See that?
yeah,
Here.
there's
Yeah.
tension.
No,
But it's
that could be redone. I'm just saying, if we're trying to maximize field space, like, there could be a whole nother large field going this way, right in that space.
And then you can take the tiny field down below and just make that into parking.
Right. Like.
Well,
most-
and
Yeah.
and again, the great thing about construction is you can do anything. The bad thing about construction is you can do anything because it costs money. So it does just kind of come down to the monetary conversation and, you know, where that comes in. And like I said, this gets into our largest grading and then highest dollar point right there.
Yeah. This is what I get. Oh, wait, no, I don't.
I think Jason brought up the point of the highway department helping. Building a parking lot is something that they would be
Maybe.
well adapted to doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could definitely do
We
that.
also have to remember that the highway department isn't free either. I mean, it's still,
Yeah.
there's still money.
Sure.
Well, we can tell them we're,
It's cheaper than
Yeah,
prevailing wage contractors.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, I
we,
mean, there's certain things that they'd be good at doing, and there's other things that I'm sure Rick doesn't want to deal with. But
yeah,
for utility work,
Yeah.
depending on what it is, because they already do all the water districts, for instance, so that if there's any need to run water pipes, they know how to do it. So we wouldn't need, as long as he's got the time to do it, they can take care of something like that.
In our designs, we try to keep it as minimalistic as possible to keep the cost down. So it really was just a storm from a utility perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, so ideally what we want is two concepts that we want ready for eventually for public comment. We're not quite there yet, but it seems like both concept 2 and 3. Do we want to have them adjusted to see what it would look like in cost to do the access road in that plot where Main Street is? And possibly put parking there. I mean.
So basically, an access road here, would we get rid of this then, or just this is our new routing?
Exactly what,
People get
right?
all the way from that parking lot all the way to that field. If you have mobility problems, you still
We
need.
still have to.
Yeah.
deal-
They're
we
gonna
still
have to
deal
get-
with minimum quality stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, but you can,
so I would say to add to it.
there's sidewalks in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can keep it, I just,
because right now on concept 3, there are 8 parking spots.
That's correct.
It's teeny.
That's parking's one of the things it's.
Yeah, and a lot of these, it was more viewed as a drop off immediately there and then park and walk back just based on the amount of available space.
I mean, are there any other changes or additions anyone wants to see? I mean, I'm concentrating more on 2 and 3 because those are the only 2 that we can really do with buffers, right?
The buffers are a guaranteed thing, or they're a thing that would just cost us a bunch to get permission to.
You really can't go around it because it has to do with the ones. And like, yeah, there's stuff.
Except it has been
Yeah,
done
because
for
it's
the
been done in
actual
the
building.
past.
Okay.
But things have changed since
If
then.
we just put in the road and make it look old like it's been there.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're gonna stop recording,
And global warming needs to just dry up those wetlands and then we won't have an issue.
Exactly.
All right, we'll wait another couple of years and go at it then.
It's a one day.
Hey, maybe Trump will get rid of those calls.
It's a
1 foot buffer.
it's a state grade wetland.
That
Ah,
already
state
happened.
wetland.
That's been the issue to start with.
That's what the issue is. And that's why it's.
Well, I think the wetland thing already got taken care of in the courts last year. I'm not joking. It's just that you gotta then have fun with the conservation board and everybody.
That's correct.
We should just build condos back there.
Oh, no,
you're really doing.
no.
I have to make up for
I
2
think for
times of
today- I
not
think
being
for today-
here.
But
I think probably for today, we're good on,
Yeah.
at least for Chris. And we can-
yeah, I mean, I think that's my only change is just to guess if we can add the access road and parking there to see what that is.
See a concept for that.
Just to try to increase as much as we can of parking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the end of the world for some people, yeah, to drop off, go there, park and walk. Keep some of the other closer spots for people that can't.
And I think, Chris, you'll see on the, if you look on a bigger map, you'll see there's a road directly across from that. You know, the Applewood, so I
Yeah.
don't know if we need to try and line up with that a little bit or not. Jason, I don't know what you think. But
Is there, I know it looks like there's only 9 houses, is there potential for this to develop further?
yes.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Okay,
I think that whole big field that's behind it, they own that,
I think they want to develop more back there.
and I know.
Okay.
And into
They
the
have plans
other
to do
road
it.
as well, they have
Yeah.
plans to.
yeah, then in that case, yeah, we would want to be as now, well, I know there's an electrical pole there, so I don't want to say that and then have to,
You know, don't worry about it.
yeah. I would say in a perfect world, yes, if we can have it directly across here, you know, that way again, if this does develop and DOT feels a need to, whether it's a stop sign or what have you, it's a direct 4-way instead of a stagger there.
Marty, you're now across the road.
That's fine.
Get you a little bit.
That's
I'm getting that's the simplest job.
absolutely. Sign me up, coach.
Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow, this is wherever.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone have any other things to add or questions, or do you think we can let Chris go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to let Chris go.
Do you
Well,
have
it was
any-
good
anything
talking
else
to
to
everyone
think
and
about?
seeing you. And if you
Okay.
have any more questions, let me know. But you know, once we know kind of the final last little revisions, we'll get it tweaked and have the 2 concepts ready for public input from there.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Hey, Chris.
Bye.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else to add either for that.
No, yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna have to talk about the proximity to DPW and I mean, I guess in a little bit, I know Marty, you like the funding part of it, we'll find the money to do this stuff. We'll find the grants to do it.
Yeah, I'm not,
So I'm a little less, like, I obviously don't wanna throw, it's like, oh, just lots of money stuff, but, you know, like, I think.
well, I think there's some concepts in these. You know, like he said, they just threw out, you know.
Yeah, we'll sit
like-
down and we'll just.
Yeah, there's
some
some
stuff that we
things
take
that
out.
we definitely,
There are always lines that can come out.
yeah, there's definitely stuff in here that we don't need.
And so, like, we really aren't, we're not running full-size soccer games,
No,
right? Yeah, so that's one thing where we don't need,
the soccer goals.
you know, we don't need high school or college-sized goals.
No.
Because we're not doing that.
I also saw some in the weeds last night at the school.
Some what?
Large size soccer goals in that baseball field out in the hedge. Just
wait,
thrown in
At the
there.
elementary school?
I was like,
Amazing.
Dragon High School out of there.
yes, a couple years
Couple
ago,
years ago.
and up at the top too.
And if we need dugouts, I know there are a couple, you know, over at Wall Street, that we can just pull out of there.
Let's take it out.
Sorry, I'm still salty about that one. They replaced dugouts with floors with stuff at grade with like no bottom in the place that
In the
floods.
swamp.
In a swamp that floods, so there's no floor, it's just dirt.
That all makes perfect sense. I don't know what you're talking about with the problem.
They also didn't get permission before they started doing it, which is
Love
why
it.
they had to stop.
That also was an issue.
Which is why we can't just go build the buffers.
Right.
Yeah, but James is really good with computer stuff. I feel like he can move this line. It's a line.
I mean, I know that.
He doesn't need a Sharpie, what are you talking about?
It's just a line. That's fun.
You know, I think, and, you know, we can ask Chris about that, but, you know, there. Yeah, I guess it would be degrading the west side of that, like the big field in concept 3. But like moving that towards the east, more towards the catch basin, you know, basically where the footprint of the old community garden is. You can move it farther away from, DPW. Right?
Yeah.
Can we just like build a big fence over where DPW is, so no one can get to it?
Something.
I don't
Well,
think
I mean,
I mean, I'm like half thinking, I'm like, do you want, just to make it
it's
really
one of the
clear?
things that we're gonna
Right.
have, that's
They're
gonna
gonna
have to
have to
do
do
it
it.
with, no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people will
They're gonna wander it.
pull into DPW, wanna go up that hill, and we don't want them to do that.
They're gonna wanna overflow park there.
Oh, absolutely, we
Sure.
need to like we need to make it so that they can't do that. So we.
Cause yeah, I see where DPW is and it's like, yeah.
alligators and-
It's called, if anybody wants to know, the recreational is called an attractive nuisance. I run that in my law class. So you should not have,
What's an
it's an
attractive-
highway department, all
Oh,
the
yes.
trucks and the sand piles
Oh, yeah.
and the salt. It's
Mhm.
just a huge.
That's where my kid will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Right.
Kids-
Climb that.
Yeah, that's where my young will be.
And yes, things have been put into the buffers. There's a gigantic building that was just added in the last few years behind DPW that I guarantee is in the wetland.
Oh, yes,
Back down.
That big
Yes.
shell thingy?
yes.
So there's a new building back there.
Okay.
They
Is
just
that
did.
probably a salt shed? Maybe a salt building in the wetland?
No, it's a storage.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can just, if it stays there long enough and no one says anything, then we're good.
Yeah, it's equipment and also there's stuff that's used for like rub band and all that stuff.
So,
Also,
so on that point of attractive nuisance and liability and stuff, if they're on that property, that's like trespassing on the property, right?
well, it's town owned, it's still the town's property, but here's the,
I mean, is there some? Not the word is escaping me, but like where you, like if you're over there on your own free will, like is that, I don't know.
so I
That's
don't
what
want.
it's the responsibility of the parents to like tell their kids you can't go over there and climb on
What
those
did you
piles.
just?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's be real, Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but on the other side of this building, I mean, there's the gas pumps are over here. And then right there is the sale barn. So I don't know if anybody's been back here in this area of the sale barn where they keep their pile of poop and where they also keep the dead animals. No, nobody's been over there? Okay, because that's there,
Sounds great.
that's there.
My child will find this, it's fine.
Big compost.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nature.
Circle of life.
This gets better and better.
yeah. So if you guys ever like randomly want to hang out in the afternoon and take a walk, I will gladly show you all
Yeah.
of those great things that are back there. I mean, nobody really sees them, but if we start putting things back here this close,
Yeah, right.
That's why I feel like, yeah.
The worlds will collide.
and I just,
So I feel like a nice tall fence.
not only that, but I just feel like I want to be super respectful to the highway department,
Yeah.
just because they do a ton for me. If I ever ask them for anything, they will do it. And I want to keep that relationship because I need to have that
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
If not, we will have to buy a truck and a trailer and, you know, all those things. More manpower. I
Is there
also-
somebody, is there like a representative from that department that we could bring into this conversation?
I'll chat with Rick.
Yeah, I can talk with Rick.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
it
other-
seems like the best way to get them to help
Yeah.
us and be okay with it is for them to have.
He is a
input
huge
now.
advocate for this project. He actually got the land out back once to do that.
The land we can't use?
Correct.
Okay.
But no, he's a huge advocate to do this.
Still gets.
Now we officially can't.
I know.
Is it the parking area and the playground space that we're trying to keep away, or like the actual large field butting down?
I think,
I mean, it's just that they're all like right, that it's all right there,
Everything.
right? So that's where everyone's gonna be.
Yeah, cause
Yeah.
I think the
Scooches.
thing that you raised about having the road access where we were last just discussing it in that makes the most sense.
Yeah,
And there's trees to clear and such, but you could have a much more useful parking lot up
yeah,
essentially next to the rec garage
Yeah,
and a playground up that way.
yeah.
It is then an issue of getting access for accessibility access down there. but-
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but when I looked at these, I didn't see these actually solving, like, any of these actually solving our needs and having enough, like 8 parking spots.
Well, I think the parking is like the huge issue. The field, I mean,
Is that enough space for you to run your programs?
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so Greg has been coaching soccer and lacrosse for a couple of years now, and now he is coaching modified lacrosse at the school. So now he gets to see every single day what the field use is like, right?
Mhm.
What's available, what it looks like, what we can use, what we cannot use. So like even the other day we were talking, he was trying to line a field up at the top at the elementary school, you know, in a tornado of, I don't even know what that was. Rain, so
Just a
I don't
small-
even know.
Small rainstorms.
So, yeah, and it's covered in rocks, there's like random, I don't even know what was in there, there's ruts from trucks. You know,
So they did roll the large field over there today.
oh, did I?
Like a road roller. It's much better.
Is it? So, you know, that was something he brought up. He was like, well, it would be nice if, you know, we had these fields. And I was like, hey, let me tell you what we're doing. So that's what I got Greg in.
That's what I'm
here.
doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
As
It's
soon as the
in,
project's done, you'll leave.
it is,
No.
it is a need, even if, you know, we had something that's like the size of the elementary school, you know, we're kind of struggling to use the spaces that we have, not because they're not available all the time. I'm gonna say that because sometimes they are not available.
Yeah. Also has some control though over.
Because we have control
Mhm.
over what it looks like, and if there's rocks all over it, who are we mad at? We're mad at ourselves, right?
For sure.
And we can help control that situation. And just, I won't have to move something because there's a girls modified soccer game. You know, I won't have to have practice.
It's like a modified game that's canceled and then gets rescheduled and now it just throws your world.
Correct, that
So, yeah,
happened, that's happening this weekend. So this is guaranteed. I know who's going to be using it, and if the schedule is messed up or double booked, that's on me. I have nobody to yell at but myself, right? And that's a nice feeling, because at least I have someone to be mad at.
So what I was trying to kind of propose as I was like showing up on the screen, like, I don't think I think concept 3, the main large field is good. But it's like $100,000 to build this little U8 field over there that they have off to the side.
Right.
I don't think that's a great use, but there's also, it happens like, this is where that old community garden is back there now, and like kind of where that field ends there is where it starts to go up a little more severely. But I went out there and walked it over the weekend, and there's literally like where that big field is on the map is one area, and then it would go up and you'd kind of have like an elevated field like what's at the elementary school, where you kind of have that elevated smaller field up there. And that would I think that would provide enough field space that's comparable to what we use now for soccer and everything. But just this one large field, and even just having this little U8 is not really
Right,
quite what we're taking up space
Or
for on a
like
Saturday morning.
crazy thought, a building on that, could the raised part be the parking lot? So that the road, you come in here, you come up, you bang a left, and then there's a parking lot here, and
Right,
we change nothing else down here. Or we do what you said, field up here, parking lot down here. Based on, cause that's cleared, right? It looks like there's not the tree clearing
up at the top.
issue at the top.
No,
The only thing they probably would,
just the grid
that they'd have to consider is.
in the runoff.
Like
and
runoff
is
from
the
the
runoff.
cars, yeah.
So that would change
That's not here.
runoff of a parking lot is a lot different.
So that field at the elementary school that's up on the top, I was talking with Jeff Montesano, who is the, it's, if you go to the elementary school, it's
It's like
So
all
where
above
the dumpsters are?
playground.
it's up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's a couple old field goals, like,
Perpendicular to the
Yeah.
lacrosse.
So we used
yeah, the
Yes.
big ones down there that has a track around it, there's like another one up.
up on the top.
Yeah.
So we used to run flag football up there, but then when I was started, when I was here, like I'm done. I'm still here. But they also used to do T-ball and stuff up there. So it's big enough, so a field like that or whatever size, if it's that equivalent, you know, you could also, not that I do T-ball, but you know, that is an extra space that I could rent out.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
so this says, so this U8 field that he's got here, number 7, U8 soccer field is 75 feet by like 102 feet. Which honestly is not even an actual U8 regulation U8 field. Like I've looked at some numbers, it's smaller than or it's like the smallest possible U8.
So yeah, that's 95 by 70, something like that.
Right, but this, I mean, so
Um,
this is a 75 by 100-foot field for $100,000.
What is it, 75 by what?
75 feet by 100 feet.
Yeah, by.
Yeah, so I don't
102
even
feet.
do
So there-
100 for the 5-6 teams.
So that, where we're talking about the elevated field at the elementary school, I just painted out 75 yards by 50 yards for lacrosse.
Right,
And you could fit 3 U8 soccer fields
across that way.
going across that field.
Yep.
Cause 50 yards is 150 feet.
So on the modified field where you practice, that's
Mhm.
where I fit the 3. And
Right.
so Laszlo has it painted as a grid for his practices, which were perfect because then I don't even measure it. I just use 2 by 3 or whatever it is. And then I can skip a grid and then do the next one and it works out perfectly actually. And it helps the kids because they can see the lines too, because they're the little ones.
Yeah.
But that fits in there with the home run fence now.
Yes.
And we don't go all the way over. There's a lot
Right.
of room, not a lot, but there's enough room where the old softball field used to be.
So so how many of those are for the kindergarten fields?
So there's 3 and I wanted to add more, just because of the numbers we've had the last couple of years, but I wasn't able to because they put that fence up.
The outfield fence.
Yes,
Yeah.
so the plan was, I think we had talked about it before, we were gonna add another team or 2 teams at each level, so there'd be we need 2 more fields for like the little guys and then the bigger. So we had it like all figured out and then the fences went up and that just kind of.
So presently, like last season, how many were there for each size of the field?
3 for the 5-6 and then for everybody else, there's
2.
2.
Right. And there's like 4 teams at each. 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, why did I say 3? There's only 2 at 5-6. I would like to have 3. I'd like to have 3 at each, but there's 2
For 4 teams.
at each
Basically.
level.
There's 4 teams, I think, at each level right now, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I'd
So
like to
there's
have
2 of the
6.
kindergarten field. You like to have
Yes.
6 at each level.
Yes,
So adding a field,
to
adding
each.
one of the baby fields and one more of the bigger fields that the older kids play on.
Yeah,
Got it.
I mean, we make it work now and it works, but I would like the teams to be smaller so that the kids have more play time.
Yeah, that's good.
In this process, do we, like, how many times can we ask them to revise? Like, do we go back to them and say, can you, finagle this and that, and then what they send us back is sort of it, like, do we have a limit? You know what I mean, of how many?
I don't know, but I mean, like he said, he's like this, it's just kind of a concept plan for us. You know, like you said, you can
Sure.
do whatever you want to do in the construction phase.
Okay,
I think I would just do one ask because it also
Right.
costs money every time they.
that's what
you
I
know.
thought, right.
So, yeah, I mean, when they come back with whatever they're gonna come back with, I think then we can just take every concept we have and kind of piece together what we think is best and go
Right.
from there.
And get two that are distinct enough from each other. That
Yeah, you wanna get
offer
together, there's like
for
two,
the
and then,
comment, the public comment.
and then we can do public comment.
Yeah,
So my guess is that they'll probably adjust the concepts a few more times, honestly.
okay,
That wouldn't surprise me, which I don't think it's not really a huge ask for a couple, like, that's what they do.
they just
Like,
If you're
move the
just-
computer stuff around.
Quick
Yeah.
question, they gave us 3, was that because they had said they'd give us 3 concepts?
We asked in the end that there would be 2, I think, in the like RFP,
Okay,
but I think he provided us that first one just to show us that like.
I just wanted to
They're
make sure,
trying, but
I was just making sure we weren't paying for the one that was a concept that we absolutely can't do this.
no,
We put a lot of time into designing it, it's just you can never do this.
but I think just to see what they come back with those 2 concepts and then
Isn't that what architects are?
adjust it if we need
Right.
to. And then hopefully do public comment, in which case. I don't know if they'll be adjusted another time based on what people say, but maybe. And then hopefully
Okay.
with 1. And then from there, figure out, are things going into phased approach? What can we apply for? I mean, like, cause we missed the deadline for that one. Grant for New York State, but that was really because you need to have an actual like solid plan, you can't just apply and it's very involved, we'll need to hire someone probably to do it,
But chances are there'll
So.
be a similar grant next year.
yeah.
And
But I think what the plan needs to be, though, if the town wants to do, the village wants to do it, is to most likely hire a grant writer, cause it's gonna be, it'll be involved.
So since we're talking about that, and I just remembered something from months ago.
Yeah.
Remember the playground company I was talking about,
Mhm.
Syracuse?
The adaptive.
Yes, the adaptive playground. So I spoke with her a couple times. And they have a grant writer that they
Yeah,
work
like,
with.
it's like included, right? Or
Yeah,
something.
it's free. So basically, she said she'd come out, take a look what we have, we talk about some things, they would set up a design and set us up with this guy. And he just basically finds all these grants for you and helps you and does all of that. So I'm not sure if that's anything anyone's interested in, or if we want to pursue that. She said there was a place in Florida that they were working with who was kind of in the same boat as us, like no money, needed something, and the people just could not believe like what he.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be worth it again, cause that takes off 100,000 off the estimates.
Yeah.
For the playgrounds, for able to get it,
Well, I mean, even for the adaptive.
Partially and
playgrounds,
mostly
it's gonna be
funded.
more than that.
yeah,
So I didn't know.
yeah, I mean, we just did one that was like 80
It
grand.
only took me 2 months to remember that.
Where we put in the circular, like monkey bars at the Freeville Elementary, but like that. With all volunteer work, was still like $7,000.
Yeah, yeah, no,
And
it
it's
gets very
tiny, like,
expensive.
it's laughably.
It's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
But it was so cool, yeah,
And it
yeah.
took like 2 years.
Yeah.
Did she do the grading work for them? It was Alex. Like, yeah, mine's dad, like came and donated like time and
Yeah.
equipment to like do the digging and stuff. It was still $7,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the restroom, I'm sorry, I'm stunned.
So they,
That doesn't surprise me, I don't know, like, I mean,
You're used to
I do so much,
Yeah.
we do so much construction in our houses and stuff like that, and things have just gotten more and more
Wow.
expensive, like. I don't even know how much longer we can build for-sale houses, honestly, cause they just, it's insane.
when
Yeah.
looking online, they're prefabricated 2-restroom waterless units that should come in at under 100,000.
Except you have to grade it, you have to put the slab to put them on, you have to hire the workers to do it, I mean, it'll probably end up being under 100 grand. Cause that's just an estimate,
Yeah,
again, using prevailing wage and all that,
Yeah,
but
but that's not for.
it adds up so
They have
fast.
some of it, like the concrete,
yeah, the concrete's under
It's
separate
separate.
section. That's
Yeah.
just the building.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just replaced like 3 manufactured homes in a manufactured home community, and each one came to close to 200 grand. So,
For what?
for a mobile home.
Oh,
That's a whole house. This
Right.
is just a toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even flush.
Not even,
For
not
half,
even
for half the cost of a mobile home, you can get a toilet with no electricity and no running water.
But Marty,
It seems.
if they did, I'm just trying to, but if they did basically 2 of these, this
Mhm.
field
and that
and
one,
another one next to it, just a duplicate of that field.
yeah,
Next to it.
Yeah.
With, and playground space in between.
Yeah.
Is that enough space for you?
yeah, that's 2 regulation sized fields, right?
Mhm.
Oh, no, what size is
No,
that
this
one?
is the 2, this is 160,
One-
165
Listen, the diagram was not
by.
working for me, okay?
165 by 105.
That's what I thought.
No, by like.
That looks like
207.
two
Concept
U8s.
3, field 1 is almost a regulation field. Almost.
How important is it? Like, to get that big regulation size field, like, is that,
So,
like, that's the big difference between concepts 2 and 3, right? So like, if that is like super important, then that kind of steers.
So it's
the-
not-
From a lacrosse perspective, the 5-6 kids play on 110 by 60-yard field, which is almost a regulation soccer field.
and there also used to be, and I don't know if it'll ever come back around, but like the Falcons used to play the soccer. And they play regulation. I mean, if that was something, if we had the space to do it and somebody was interested in it, we could be
Right,
like,
you
hey,
could
we
do
do have field space.
Yeah.
Because they were using like Etna and Freeville, because there was nowhere else for them to go during the fall, to do that stuff. So if we, we're like, yeah, you can come in on Sundays, at least it's available. We build it.
They will come.
Yeah, so we'll,
So true.
so I mean, I think that means that. If we had to pick between 2 or 3, 3 is the one we would pick, just based on the fact that we get the bigger field.
I prefer 3 right now.
Or is it big?
So that's actually like I was saying, you could almost fit a field almost this size.
Well, I think the issue would be
Oh, I couldn't
like
get
this
into the meetings
green.
last
Yeah.
night.
They're trying
You know
to
why?
make
Because I was
a
waiting for the
hillside
host to
for
let
people
me
that.
in.
No, I know,
Just-
I know.
For the meeting
And I
to
think,
start, and I was
I
like,
do think the
I was
cost
trying to
of
get into the.
trying to do something with the,
It wasn't happening.
water
Like,
retention
Right.
spot here would be
I
pretty
wasn't.
high because
Like,
we do get in trouble with because of.
yeah.
It's like nothing went right.
And I noticed in concept 1, they had this closer to that property line, like they were right on it.
Yeah.
I just know that from just looking at everything, there's space to get more field space in there without, and it basically comes
It all just.
straight down here, which stays out of all of that stuff.
Right. It all just.
Yeah, potentially.
That, from me looking at it and spending a little time thinking about it, the way to get the most flat playing space was to do that.
Look, I just did it right
This
here.
is very, very hard.
I mean, it goes away.
And there's also, I will point out, there's a line of trees here, like big spruce trees, that I think we would want to stay, because I was up there on a windy day and there's a lot of wind ripping around up there.
Yeah.
I would think we would wanna keep.
Which could also give, like, if you had a parking lot and playground
I
over
know.
in this area, and
Yeah.
just athletic fields over here.
Well, I think one of the things we've talked about with the playground is making sure that it's
Within
close
sight
enough.
of the.
close
You talk
enough
about all
to
the field, and you
fields
start
because-
filling in, and you see like there's an issue.
It's so when Ezra's
things
playing, the girls
change,
can go
yeah.
off and play on that.
Sure.
So I also feel like, in this third plan with that road right there, highway does have like are those the pipes? Like they do have stuff stored over there too. And I know I keep saying I don't want to upset them. I sincerely mean that with all of my heart.
Yeah.
Not only,
Although there is some of that stuff they could.
yes, they can, and I'm not saying that they can't
How?
can't clean their house up. They can, however, I just. If we want to use them to do work, hypothetically speaking, if somebody lives next door to the highway superintendent, we want to be nice to them.
I don't live next door to the highway superintendent anymore, so I don't care.
Now it's my town. Yes. Yes.
And then also we do also have to think about, you know, in terms of living next to, we have to think about our neighbors here.
Correct.
Well, yeah,
There,
yeah.
right, all of a
Yes.
sudden we
Do these
put a
people
road
hear what
next to
I'm
their
doing?
house.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
I have to say, developing a lot easier when there's like no neighbors,
Yes, I.
like no one
this is true.
complains.
Yeah.
This is true.
We built a development in the middle of nowhere in Seneca Falls, no complaints.
Nice. Second thoughts. Well, I think it'd be a good idea to talk to the, was it Rick, you said?
Yeah, I'll talk to him
And show
tomorrow.
him the
We'll see how
ideas
it
and
goes
just
tomorrow.
get a feel for how
Just show.
we move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we can end.
I'll tell him really.
Second.
Bye, Jason.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, guys.